Imagine a Hollywood scandal so explosive it's not just making headlines. It's rewriting the rules of fame, power, and justice. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, two stars who seemed destined to shine together, are now locked in a legal battle that's tearing through Tinseltown like wildfire. This isn't your typical celebrity drama. It's a high-stakes showdown packed with shocking accusations, mountains of evidence, and questions that could change how we view the MeToo movement forever. Grab a snack, settle in, and stick with me until the end. Because this story is a roller coaster you won't want to miss. Trust me, every twist and turn is worth it. And by the time we're done, you'll be rethinking everything you thought you knew about Hollywood. Let's dive right in. Blake Lively, the actress we all know from Gossip Girl and blockbuster hits like The Age of Adeline, stunned the world when she filed a lawsuit against Justin Baldoni, her co-star and co-producer on a film they were working on together. This wasn't just any project. It was billed as a bold, inclusive venture that had everyone buzzing with excitement. The kind of movie that could have been a game changer for both of them. But somewhere along the way, things went horribly wrong. Blake's lawsuit hit like a thunderbolt, accusing Justin of misconduct on set. She didn't hold back, framing her claims with the emotional weight of the MeToo movement. According to her, Justin used his power as a producer to create a hostile, uncomfortable work environment that left her feeling unsafe. The media jumped on it immediately. Headlines screamed about a Hollywood predator, and for a hot minute, it looked like Justin's career was about to crumble. Now, if this was a movie, this is where the plot twist would hit, and oh, does it hit hard. Justin didn't just deny Blake's allegations. He didn't issue a vague PR statement or try to sweep it under the rug. Instead, he came back with a legal counterattack so fierce it flipped the entire narrative on its head. His team filed a response that wasn't just a defense, it was a full-blown exposé. They brought receipts, and I mean receipts. Text messages, emails, transcripts, timelines, you name it. Justin's lawyers argue that Blake's claims aren't just false. They're part of a calculated plan to take control of the film and push him out. They're saying she weaponized the MeToo movement, not to protect herself, but to gain power. If that sounds like a bombshell, it's because it is. This isn't just a he said, she said fight. It's a clash that could reshape how we think about justice and accountability in Hollywood. Let's break down.
Sexual harassment in California is that it was unwelcome.
Deal. It had all the makings of a hit, a talented cast, a fresh story, and a message that resonated with audiences. But behind the scenes, things weren't as rosy as they seemed. Creative disagreements began to bubble up, as they often do in high-pressure projects. Justin, as a producer and director, had his vision for the film. Blake, a major star with her own creative input, had hers. These kinds of clashes aren't unusual in Hollywood. Egos are big, and everyone wants their stamp on the final product. But according to Justin's team, Blake took it to a whole new level. When she didn't get her way, they claimed she saw an opportunity to get rid of Justin entirely. How? By accusing him of harassment and wrapping it in the powerful, untouchable armor of MeToo. This is where things get really messy. The MeToo movement has been a force for good, giving a voice to survivors and holding powerful people accountable. It's changed the game in Hollywood and beyond, shining a light on systemic abuse. But Justin's team is arguing that Blake exploited that movement for her own gain. They say her lawsuit wasn't about seeking justice. It was about seizing control of the film and reshaping the narrative to make herself the hero. If true, this is a devastating accusation. It's not just about Blake and Justin. It's about the integrity of a movement that's meant to protect the vulnerable. Misusing something so sacred could have ripple effects, making it harder for real victims to come forward. That's why this case is so much bigger than a celebrity feud. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the evidence? Let me tell you. Justin's team didn't come to play. They've put together what they call a dossier of communications between Blake and Justin, and it's a goldmine. We're talking text messages spanning months, emails, and even witness statements. These documents paint a picture of a professional, even friendly relationship. In one text thread, Blake and Justin are allegedly joking about something trivial. On set. Hardly the kind of vibe you'd expect in a toxic work environment. There's an email where Blake thanks Justin for his creative input, praising his contributions to the project. Another message shows them collaborating on ideas for the film, with a tone of mutual respect. Justin's lawyers say these exchanges prove Blake's claims of harassment are either wildly exaggerated or completely fabricated. But it gets even wilder. Justin's team isn't just saying Blake's claims are false. They're accusing her of cherry-picking evidence to fit her story. In her lawsuit, Blake allegedly included snippets of text conversations that made Justin look bad. But when you see the full threads, the context changes completely. For example, a message that might seem flirty or inappropriate on its own looks, like harmless banter when you read the whole exchange. This is a big deal because, under California law, harassment has to be unwelcome to count. If Blake was participating in the same kind of banter she's now calling inappropriate, it undermines her entire case. Justin's team is betting on these full context messages to show she's trying to rewrite history. Let's talk about the law for a minute, because this case hinges on a specific California statute called Section 47.1. This law was passed in the wake of MeToo to protect people who speak out about harassment or misconduct. It's like a legal shield. If you make a claim in good faith, meaning you genuinely believe you've been wronged, you can't be sued for defamation, even if your claim doesn't hold up in court. It's a powerful tool, and Blake's team is leaning on it hard. They're saying her lawsuit is protected because she had a reasonable basis for her accusations. But here's the catch. Section 47.1 only works if your claims are made without malice and are based on reasonable grounds. If Justin can prove Blake acted with malice, meaning she knowingly lied to hurt him, that shield vanishes. This is where Justin's evidence becomes a game changer. In the early stages of a lawsuit like this, the judge has to assume the defendant's facts are true. That's Justin's version of events. So, when his team rolls out pages of texts and emails showing a collaborative, respectful relationship, it's a massive blow to Blake's case. If she was joking with Justin, thanking him, and working closely with him, it's hard to argue she was in a hostile environment. And if the judge decides her claims don't have a reasonable basis, her lawsuit could get thrown out. Even worse. For Blake, she could face a countersuit for defamation, which could cost her millions if Justin proves her accusations damaged his career. Now, let's drop another bombshell. Ryan Reynolds. Yes, the Deadpool star, Blake's husband, and one of Hollywood's most beloved figures. Justin's legal team has named him as a possible co-conspirator in this drama. They're suggesting Ryan might have helped Blake craft or amplify her accusations, maybe by pulling strings behind the scenes. We don't know the full extent of his involvement. Maybe he just supported his wife, or maybe he played a bigger role in shaping the narrative. But if Justin's team can prove Ryan was part of a plan to smear him, it's bad news. Section 47.1 might protect Blake as the person who filed the lawsuit, but it doesn't automatically cover third parties like Ryan. If he's found to have spread false claims, he could face legal liability, not to mention a PR nightmare. Imagine the headlines. Ryan Reynolds caught in Hollywood scandal. It's the kind of thing that could dent even his bulletproof charm. Let's take a step back and think about what's at stake. This case isn't just about Blake and Justin, it's about the future of the MeToo movement, harassment laws, and even free speech. There's a legal principle called the Noerre-Pennington Doctrine that's starting to come up in this fight. It's a mouthful, but it basically says you can't be punished for bringing a lawsuit in good faith. It's part of your First Amendment rights. Blake's team is using this to argue her lawsuit is protected, but Justin's side says she's abusing that protection. If her claims are found to be malicious, it could spark a bigger debate about whether laws like Section 47.1 are being used as loopholes to dodge accountability. This case could climb all the way to the California Supreme Court, and if it does, it could redefine how we handle public accusations. Here's the big question. What happens when a law meant to protect victims is used for something else? If Justin's team is right, Blake's lawsuit was never about justice. It was about power. They say she wanted to take over the film, and when Justin stood in her way, she tried to destroy him with a harassment claim. If the court agrees, it could shake Hollywood to its core. People might start questioning every high-profile accusation, wondering if it's genuine or just a power play. That's a dangerous road, because real victims deserve to be heard. But if false claims become a trend, it could drown out those voices and make it harder for survivors to get justice. Let's dig deeper into the evidence, because it's the backbone of this case. Justin's team has been meticulous. They've got dozens of emails, a full series of text messages, and corroborating witness statements. One example that's been making waves is a text exchange where Blake and Justin are joking about a scene they're filming. It's lighthearted, collaborative, and doesn't scream hostile workplace. Another email allegedly shows Blake praising Justin's leadership on set. These aren't just random messages. They're part of a consistent pattern that challenges Blake's narrative. Justin's lawyers are using this to argue she's trying to spin a normal working relationship into something sinister. But Blake's team isn't throwing in the towel. They're arguing that harassment doesn't always look like a screaming match or blatant misconduct. It can be subtle, rooted in power dynamics that aren't obvious on paper. They say Justin's actions, maybe the way he spoke to Blake or made decisions, could have made her feel intimidated or unsafe even if he didn't mean to. This is a valid argument, because workplace dynamics in Hollywood can be intense. A producer like Justin has a lot of sway, and even small things can feel big when you're under pressure. But here's the problem. For a harassment claim to hold up, you need to show the behavior was unwelcome and crossed a clear line. So far, Blake's evidence seems more about feelings than facts, and that's a tough sell when Justin's got a mountain of texts saying otherwise. Let's talk strategy. For a second, Justin's team made a brilliant move by fighting to keep this case in California. Why does that matter? California has some of the toughest defamation laws in the country. If Justin can prove Blake's accusations hurt his career, say by costing him roles or tarnishing his reputation, he could hit her with a massive countersuit. California also has false light protections, which let you sue if someone portrays you in a misleading way. Justin's team is already taking aim at media outlets, like the New York Times, for running with Blake's story without digging deeper. If they win on that front, it could set a precedent for how the media handles celebrity scandals, forcing outlets to be more careful about what they publish. But Blake's side has some tricks up their sleeve, too. Some legal experts say her case isn't as weak as it seems. They argue that harassment can be nuanced, and a judge might buy her argument if she can show Justin's actions created an uncomfortable environment, even if they weren't overtly hostile. Plus, Blake's got a strong public image, years of being seen as a poised, progressive star. That carries weight, especially in the court of public opinion. But the legal court is another story. The procedural rules, like assuming Justin's facts are true in early motions, give him a clear advantage. His evidence is detailed, his arguments are tight, and the law seems to be on his side. Let's talk about the fallout, because this case is going to have consequences no matter who wins. If Justin comes out on top, it's a massive win for him, but it's also a signal to others. Accused individuals might feel empowered to fight back with countersuits, especially if they've got the resources to go the distance. Lawyers might start demanding more evidence up front, knowing a weak claim could backfire. And for the MeToo movement, a win for Justin could be a double-edged sword. It might reinforce the need for solid evidence in harassment cases, but it could also fuel skepticism about future claims, making it harder for victims to be believed. If Blake wins, it's a different story. It could encourage more people to come forward with subtle or complex harassment claims, knowing the law will protect them. But it could also make it tougher for accused individuals to defend themselves, especially if emotional testimony starts outweighing hard evidence. Either way, this case is a turning point. It's not just about two stars. It's about how we balance protecting victims with ensuring fairness for everyone involved. Let's not forget about Ryan Reynolds. His name being dragged into this is a big deal, He's built a career on being the witty, lovable guy next door. If he's found to have helped Blake push a false narrative, it could chip away at that image. Picture the headlines. Ryan Reynolds tied to Hollywood conspiracy. Even if he's cleared, the fact that he's been named in court documents is enough to raise questions. And if Justin's team can prove Ryan was actively involved, the consequences could be huge. Legal liability, public backlash, maybe even damage to his business ventures like his production company or brand deals. The media's role in this is another big piece of the puzzle. When Blake first filed her lawsuit, the coverage was all about her courage and Justin's alleged wrongdoing. But as Justin's evidence started rolling out, the narrative began to shift. Some outlets are now questioning Blake's motives, while others are sticking to her side. This tug-of-war shows how powerful the media can be in shaping what we think, and how dangerous it is when they jump the gun. If Justin's team wins their fight against outlets like the New York Times, it could force the media to rethink how they cover these stories, maybe even leading to stricter standards for reporting on allegations. Timing is another factor. Legal battles like this move at a glacial pace. Even if Justin wins in the lower courts, Blake's team could appeal, stretching this out for years. That's a long time for both of them to live with this hanging over their heads. For Justin, it's a chance to clear his name. But every day, in the spotlight, is a reminder of the accusations. For Blake, the longer this goes, the more her reputation takes a hit. And for us, the audience, it's a front row seat to a drama that's more gripping than any movie. Let's zoom out and think about what this means for Hollywood. This case is a wake-up call. It's a reminder that fame and power can complicate even the most straightforward stories. Blake and Justin started as collaborators, working on a project they both believed in. Now, they're enemies in a courtroom, with their careers and legacies on the line. It's a stark example of how quickly things can spiral when egos, money, and public perception collide. And it's a warning to everyone in the industry. Accusations carry weight, and the truth matters. As we head toward the courtroom, the early signs point to Justin having the upper hand. His evidence is strong, his legal strategy is sharp, and the procedural rules give him an edge. But Blake's team isn't giving up, and they've got the resources to keep this fight going. Every text, email, and witness statement will be picked apart, and the judge's decision could set a precedent for years to come. Beyond the legal battle, this case is a mirror held up to our culture. It forces us to ask tough questions. How do we balance believing victims with seeking the truth? Can a movement like MeToo survive when it's used as a tool? And what happens when the court of public opinion moves faster than the court of law? Let's wrap this up with a final thought. This case started as a dispute between two stars, but it's grown into something much bigger. It's a test of our legal system, our values, and our ability to separate fact from fiction. Whether you're Team Blake or Team Justin, one thing is clear. The outcome will have ripple effects far beyond Hollywood. It could change how we handle accusations, how we protect reputations, and how we define justice in an age where everyone's watching. So what's your take? Do you think Justin's evidence will carry the day, or does Blake have a stronger case than it seems? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm dying to hear what you think about this wild saga. If you love this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe for more breakdowns of the biggest stories out there. Share this video with anyone who's obsessed with Hollywood drama, and let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.